All right, guys, thanks for joining us today. I'm Chad, this is Chad, and I'm Ben. We're going to be talking about common fitness and exercise questions today. Just real, common questions that we all have, right? And might not know the exact answer to, or maybe you do, right? But I thought it'd be helpful to get some information here from somebody that has an exercise physiology degree with Chad, and myself, I have a degree in nutrition. I'm a registered dietitian. We're both personal trainers. So let's go through these questions. There's quite a few. I don't know that we'll get through them all, but let's just talk a little bit about these questions and what the answers to them are. So number one question that we're going to talk about is how often should I work out? So I'll throw that over to you, Chad. How often should somebody work out?
As often as you can. If you remember the last time when we were talking, when I got to visit, doing YouTube is hard. I didn't get to say that last time.
Yeah.
You have to be super vulnerable to do this.
For sure.
I'm really impressed that you're doing this. This is hard.
Yeah.
I thought about the entire week after we did it, and when I watched it back, I'm kind of more mindful of. I'm a fidgety mover, so I'm gonna try to reel that in for you.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. Move around all you like.
Yeah, and we could talk about recommendations all day long. I mean, just basic recommendations of exercising 30 minutes, 5 days a week, some type of like cardiovascular activity, 2 to 3 days a week of some type of strength training is way more than what like 60-70% of our population does in general.
Yeah.
So knowing what may be recommended isn't always necessarily like a healthy thing to know about, because everyone's different. If we've never been active before, if we've never really focused on the food that we eat, and you could set yourself up for trouble really fast if you put yourself into a very specific box. Ideally, 30 minutes 3 times a week is definitely something. And if you notice from our last video, we talked a lot about different ways of finding that activity in your day, really looking at why you want to be more active. Obviously, a lot of people will say to feel healthier, to lose weight, to manage my stress. All those things are quite common, but typically something is better than nothing, and that'll always be
Yes.
the rule.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Something is definitely better than nothing. So the question of how often should you exercise, right? That's really, there's individual answers there, right? And so if you're just starting, right, and all that you do right now is walk for 15 minutes a couple of times a week, then make sure you keep doing that, but just do some marked increases that make it easy for you and like achievable. You don't want to like step off this cliff of, okay, now I'm going to exercise 5 times a week for an hour after you've just been walking twice a week for 15 minutes. You're going to set yourself up for failure in a situation like that. So gradual progression, right, and increase in exercise is the way to go.
Yep.
All right, so let's go to another question here. How can I get stronger without getting bulky? So I actually hear this a lot from female clients in particular. They want to get stronger, but they don't want to get bulky. Now, I'll answer this question first, and I'll pitch it over to you, right? So this is from my experience in working with many people, right, and many women is, and many women have gone through strength training quite a bit. 3 days a week, strength training. I have never seen any of my female clients get bulky, right? I have seen them get strong and tone, but I haven't seen them turn into like the Incredible Hulk per se, right?
I have not either.
Yeah.
I have noticed, I have seen it a number of times. Um, we would have, everyone has different goals that they're wanting to work out for. Maybe it's for a reunion, it's a vacation, it's getting married, right? Some of it could be more severe. I had a heart attack, I had diabetes,
Right.
or something, right? This has happened multiple times with female clients in our, at the gym, where they come in and they want to be in shape for their wedding.
Sure.
There was a process of getting your wedding dress and getting it fitted and getting it hemmed and getting it to be perfect. I have seen it a few times where women who have come to the gym and they've been working out and they're doing the things that work for them, their dress doesn't fit because they actually are athletic.
Sure.
And
They've changed their build.
they've changed their build.
Yeah.
It does happen. Like
Yeah.
I've seen it. I've seen clients that
So spots, they may have like slimmed up the waistline, but maybe the arms and shoulders have gotten a little bit stronger, a little more muscular.
their
right?
back has gotten muscular. I mean, do I call that bulky? No, I call that a byproduct of hard work.
Call that fit.
Yeah, I call that fit.
Yeah.
And it does happen.
Yeah.
Typically, rep ranges are difficult too to talk about because it's different for everybody. If you're wanting to build strength, a lot of times you'll be using lower rep ranges. If you're looking for more aesthetic look, a lot more higher rep ranges. In my experience, for my body type, anytime I go above 12 repetitions per set, I'll have a more athletic build.
Yeah.
If I come down a little bit more under 12 to 15, pretty solid, I am going to put on a more bulky build. It's
Yeah.
just how I'm built. But you can build muscle doing rep ranges in the 15 to 20 range. It is 100% possible, and some people, whether they believe it or not, when you actually start being more active, you'll be shocked at how athletic you might actually be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it does happen.
Yes.
But to your point, I have not seen anyone purposely come and start working out to, put on a ton of muscle mass.
Yeah, so if you're just tuning in, we're talking about, how, the common questions, exercise and fitness questions, and the question is like, how do I exercise without getting bulky, or how do I get stronger without getting bulky? So, higher rep ranges, I think probably, if you're looking to get, tone and fit, higher rep ranges and probably boosting cardio. But yeah, I think anybody's not gonna turn it into the Incredible Hulk overnight, right? So if you get to a point where you're feeling good about your muscularity, then, you have some choices to make, right? Do I continue to build my muscle foundation?
Correct.
Right? And maybe if I do choose to do that, right, I've got to make some manipulations to what I'm doing, heavier weight, lower reps. But if I like what I'm looking like, right, maybe it's just I get on a maintenance routine of my higher rep range, sort of stay in the same weight range of what I'm lifting.
Correct.
It's more of a maintenance. So you can, right, build muscle to the point where you like it, right, and then just maintain it.
True.
All right, so let's go to the next question here. Is it better to do cardio or strength training first? I'll let you.
I've been saying it for a very long time, and I'm sure a lot of other people will agree. If you have the opportunity to do your strength training first, that's ideal. Prioritize moving your muscles first, and then do your cardio after. In my experience, personally, I have a treadmill at home. I wake up in the morning, I'm on the treadmill right away at 6 before my wife goes to work, and we get on with our day. And then I'm doing my workout in the afternoon, late afternoon.
Your weight workout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you can do that, that's ideal. A lot of times people are not afforded that luxury.
Yeah.
You want to do your weights first. use your energy for moving the muscles and moving the weights.
Yeah, and I would say, you know, if you can, right, I've always been an advocate of, if you're gonna do a weight workout, do that weight workout. You might wanna warm up a little bit beforehand.
Sure.
Do your, whatever, 5 to 15 minute little cardio warm-up session, just get your muscles going, but if you're gonna do that weight session, usually those are pretty demanding on your muscles, right? Using that glycogen and burning energy. Feed yourself afterward, replenish all that glycogen into your muscles, and set yourself up for an easier recuperation process after that lift. Thoughts on that?
Agreed. I mean, your weight training exercises, that session can also be highly cardiovascular too.
Yes.
If I'm doing more, if I'm doing more splits and I'm doing like a rotation of different exercises, which I typically will do, once I get past like my main compound movements that I'm trying to do for that workout, when I start doing other types of exercises, I will rotate them through. And if you have the ability to do that, great.
Yeah.
Doing total body workouts, for example, great way of having a great cardiovascular workout too, as well being strength training.
Yes.
So you can achieve both during that session if you have it, right? There's a and that's the key here for all of this, that everybody's different and everyone's going to respond to things differently.
Yes.
You got to find what works for you, and that's kind of the beauty of it. I
Right.
think one of the questions down here, we look at, I don't want to jump around.
No, yeah, that's okay.
Like, how do I prevent injuries when exercising? You really, that's the joy of learning this process. I've gone through periods of my life where highly active, disciplined, and on point, and there have been times in my life where I've been highly undisciplined, inactive, and
Right.
not on point.
Yeah.
And what I find, obviously, when I'm disciplined and on point, I have to also slow myself down so that way I'm actually I'm fluid with the workouts that I'm doing, because I am a little bit older.
Yeah.
I can still move the weight that I did in my 30s and my 20s,
Yeah.
and I'm also fragile.
Yeah.
I can get hurt.
Yeah.
So really learning how the machines work with your body, learning how free weight exercises work with your body, and taking your time.
Yeah.
That's incredibly difficult if you've never done it before.
Yeah, it's a good, I think, a good pivot, right, with Chad. Like, it's a creative process, it really is. It's
Yeah.
almost, you know, like an artful process, right, of training, right, figuring out what's right for you, learning the progression, not biting off more than you can chew, especially as you get older. I mean, even when you're younger, right, but especially as you get older, you know, once you get into your, I'll just say 40s, or you start getting over 50 and even older, just be aware of what you can do, what feels comfortable, right? And yeah, when you're like 40 or 50, right, and maybe you've, you know, you're not as active as you were in your 20s and 30s, and you get back into the gym and you're like, I'm gonna start doing bench again, or I'm gonna start doing deadlifts again. Don't start stacking on the weight, right, that you remember that you used to do 5, 10, 20 years ago. You wanna progress gradually. Otherwise, you're gonna end up with problems, right?
AC joint, neck,
Yes.
knee,
Elbows.
back.
Yes.
Like, it happens.
Yes.
And it's humbling, right? When we're younger, we can bounce back really fast,
Yes.
right? And as we get older and we start reintroducing activity into our life, or we want to have the eye of the tiger again, kind of, so to speak.
Right.
What Ben's saying is true, because even in my own experience, I've had this progression for the last couple of years, because when I was younger, I was training maybe a little too aggressive, maybe sometimes not as smart as I could. My body could move the weight, not my fault.
Right.
And the ability to just get better when you're younger is different than getting better when we're older.
Yes.
I have to really hold myself back to prevent injury by looking at what did I do last week, what did I do a couple weeks before that, so that way I'm careful.
Yeah.
Energy plays a role in it too, and I've shared this with Ben a couple times that there are plenty of days that I don't want to do my afternoon workout once I've been through my entire day at work.
Yeah.
And I've had to make peace with myself and a non-negotiable that may not feel the most energetic to want to do this workout today. I can do it tomorrow. I'm gonna do it today, but I really focus on let's just get some movement in today.
Yeah.
It might not be a 5-star workout like you want it to be,
Right.
but let's get some movement in and just see how it goes. And then 20 minutes goes by, and I'm just doing my workout the way I'm supposed to.
Yeah, you're getting into it. You've sort of passed that mental block, if you will, right? And
Yep.
convince yourself, well, I'm just gonna go through some motions. But as you start going through the motions, then you start like, okay, I'm feeling better. It's time to get a little more serious.
Yes. And let's not confuse that with if I'm legitimately tired
Right.
or if I am a little extra sore from a different workout. I tread with caution and I give myself that grace.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
And that's how you prevent injury. I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth now. There's a difference between I'm tired
Yeah.
and I am tired. Like my body, I probably shouldn't be working out today.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. It does. There's the, I don't know how, I'll see if I can word this well, but you're exhausted from the day. All you want to do is sit on the couch. You're feeling, lazy. And so there's that. And then there's like, I am really like physically tired and not able to do it, right? Like, maybe I've got, significant delayed muscle soreness from a couple of days ago that's just putting me over the edge, and I'm not feeling good enough to even do a workout. You have to recognize, I think, where you're at mentally. Is this just a mental thing that I need to hop over to get into the gym and start moving? Which I think is probably, that's it most of the time for people. And then there's the real physical, I probably shouldn't work out today, right?
Correct. When I'm feeling broke down, that's the language I use with my wife.
Yeah.
I'm feeling kind of broke down today. When I feel that way, then I get out of my own way and let it go, because we can talk about being as active as you want to be.
Yeah.
Well, you actually need to rest your body too.
This is true. Rest is a crucially important piece.
And so I personally, I do think that there is a thing as overtraining when it comes to physical, using lifting weights. There's plenty of people who argue against it.
Yeah.
That's a lot about food and rest. If you can't eat a lot of food and you don't get a lot of rest, it can definitely happen.
Yeah.
Right? It was explained if you train like this, you can't eat like this.
Yeah.
They gotta match, right? And saying that, I don't allow myself to do weights more than 3 days in a row.
Yeah.
Like, there's a 4th day, I won't, like, for example, today is day 4, so I won't be doing that afternoon workout today.
Yeah.
I'm gonna walk the dog.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
My dog needs a walk too. It's gonna be nice out today.
Yeah.
But even if I feel great, because I feel great,
Yeah.
I'm still not gonna do it.
Yeah, I think that's fair, right? You gotta let your body rest a little bit,
Right.
especially if you have a very consistent weight routine.
Right.
So if you're going back to back days in your weight routine, right, then you're gonna want to get a rest day in there.
Yep.
All right, so
See, we just covered a whole bunch of things right there.
we did. I think. Here's one how do I break through a fitness plateau, right? I guess it depends on, that's maybe a little bit of a vague question there, but everybody has these plateaus, right? It could could be very specifically, right, I've reached a plateau of my bench press, right? Or I have reached a plateau of a 5K, right? I can't break my 5K times. I have reached a plateau with my weight. I think that's a really common one, right? Is I'm trying to lose weight and I've flatlined, right? I can't get past this. Maybe we talk about that one. That's pretty common, right? And I think it actually is common, lesser common, like, you know, people that are trying to gain weight, they also plateau, right? But
True.
weight loss is definitely more of a common thing, just, you know, in our nation and even the world, right? Is struggling with weight management. But so what do people do, right? How can I break through that plateau? So I'll start this one out. I think
Yeah, you
it's
start.
you're at a plateau for a reason of calorie balance, right? That's usually what it is. So you have a caloric balance that you've hit, and sometimes it's hard to figure, you know, like tracking your calories is a hard thing to do, right?
That's a whole other video.
Yeah, but you're usually on those plateaus, right? You're taking in as much as you're burning off, right? And so you're flatlining there because of that you're hitting that line, right, of balance in your calories in and calories out. So you've got some options, right? One is decreasing what you're eating,
If possible.
if possible.
Sometimes it's not possible.
Right. Yep. So that's an option. The other is increasing what you're burning, right? So that's moving more, whatever, you know, shape that takes. So,
Which means what?
so
So if you move more, does that mean you have to continue to move more forever?
it depends, right?
It
I
depends.
guess. Yeah. So eat less, move more, or a combination of,
Sure.
right? To break past that plateau. I think, you know, so from a weight, you know, we're just talking weight management standpoint, but there's other plateaus too. But interested, Chad, on what you have to say around that common sort of weight plateau. You know, I'm 10 pounds above my goal weight, and I just can't bust it, right? I can't bust through that, right? How would you coach to that, I guess?
Sure. Maybe we just covered this with my example of a couple of our female clients for their wedding.
Yeah.
They weigh the same, but
Right.
they look incredibly different.
Right.
So if you're doing more weight activity and weight training activity than you've done in the past, you genetically are able to retain that muscle mass.
Yeah.
That's not your fault.
Yeah.
We have to look at other variables that are making this weight goal thing to happen.
Right.
It could be body fat percentage.
Yeah.
I mean, right?
Yeah.
You have more lean muscle mass, lower body fat percentage. That might be your goal weight.
Yeah, so maybe you need to reassess what your goal weight is.
Right.
And maybe your plateau, right, is okay, right? Maybe,
Plateaus are totally okay.
so an assessment of, you know, okay, well, where am I at really, right? Should I lose more weight? That might be come into question, right?
Sure.
So have I hit a weight that I'm comfortable with? Do I really need to get down to my previously set goal? You know, like you said, let's take a look at body fat percentage, right? Let's take a look at my fitness level.
Right.
Let's take a look at my waist circumference.
Right.
Like, are these things that have changed dramatically since I started exercising? If they are, right, then, and if you're comfortable with that, the plateau that you're at, we're just gonna call that maintenance, right?
You're at a point where you still have to work for it to maintain it. And
Right.
I mean, when people start doing more traditional compound type exercises, like when I look around the Evolve studio here, like there's a leg press hack squat machine over here. Maybe people are maybe they're doing more squats than they did in the past, or they're doing deadlifts. They're doing really solid exercises for you to do.
Yeah.
Your legs are half your body.
Right.
You're gonna put some muscle on that you didn't know existed.
Yes.
Booty, women love, for some reason women love booty all of a sudden.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, that you're gonna put weight on somewhere potentially,
Right.
that you're just genetically able to do,
Right.
right? So you gotta be kind of like patient with yourself,
Yeah.
right? So for cardiovascular system to work, for your brain to work, right? Your body is doing so many different processes throughout the day to manage itself.
Yes.
And as you lose weight, right, in extreme circumstances, a lot of people want to lose 30, 40, 50, 60 pounds.
Yeah.
Your body is still learning how to manage itself to get down to that weight.
For sure.
So it's going to take a little bit of time just to let your body just get used to it. The one thing you don't want to do is stop.
Yeah.
Or do something extreme.
Yep.
Like one of the common questions is how long does it take to notice results?
Patience is the main.
Time.
Yeah.
Time.
Yeah.
It's literally time.
Yeah.
You can't win the lottery if you don't buy a lottery ticket.
Yeah, and the results, like, I mean, it depends on that question, right? It is a common question, like, when am I gonna start seeing results with this, right? And like, well, tell me about how you feel after you work out. You're like, well, I feel great. I'm like, well, isn't that a result?
That's a result.
Right. So, I mean, there's just, you know, when you're talking or working with somebody, right, that wants to lose weight, everything is just so completely focused and centered around losing weight. And that's okay, right? But we also need to bring into view all of the other benefits, right? That this activity that we're partaking in, the exercise, the eating better, right? Like, it's not just losing weight, guys, right? This is much, much more than that. It's how you're feeling mentally during the workout, during your day, and then just how you're going about your days after, you know, implementing this exercise routine, right? Those for sure are results. And so I think, you know, Chad, you're right, like, the results shouldn't be just centered around that weight, right? There's other things that come into play, right? Like if you're doing these compound movements or any kind of exercise, like, you're gonna start seeing progress in these areas, but it takes time, right? So look to other things, right? Of, you know, because I guarantee, if you start doing more exercise, you're gonna start seeing, you know, what I'm gonna call them results, because they are results, but those mental results will happen almost instantaneously, right?
You do something for a couple weeks, you will automatically know.
Yes.
I mean, you just will. 6 to 8 weeks, typically, other people notice.
Yep.
That something's happening.
Yep.
You know, typically 3 months to 6 months, is when you get out of your own way, because we're used to seeing ourselves every day, so we can't judge ourselves as much. And
Yeah.
that you choose your audience wisely as to what you're gonna see.
Yes.
But blood pressure, cholesterol, triglycerides, heart rate.
Yeah, there's also
there's so many different things. Like I've been looking at that Fitbit for the longest time, and I've been tracking just my resting heart rate and my blood pressure. I've been tracking all these different metrics.
Yeah.
And they do go up and down sometimes, but to look over the last few years, it's like
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
And even if I don't lose a whole lot of weight, I'm comfortable being 200 pounds. I'm sorry, I like ice cream.
Yeah.
That's not my goal. My
Right.
goal is performance, enjoying my fitness, and
Yeah.
improving my health to where I can. Everyone has their own goals.
Yeah.
Like you should stick to what works for you. And
Yeah. You
what makes you happy, and
don't have to be perfect, right?
it's good to know that you're not alone, because a lot of people get frustrated with their progress.
Yeah, and fall off track, right?
Professionals are disappointed with how they look all the time, and it's easy to get into your head and derail yourself for no reason other than I'm not doing it. Because if you're not doing anything, and all of a sudden you're doing all this work, the last thing you want to do is get in your way and judge yourself because you're not getting what you want.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, we've got some more questions here. Let's try to tackle some of these.
Okay.
We sort of tackled the why am I not losing weight even though I exercise, sort of talked about that.
Patience.
Yeah, and making sure you monitor your calories in versus calories out. What's the best way to recover from a tough workout? So we've talked a little bit about that already, like with rest. Rest is an important thing. And then I'll talk from the nutrition angle.
Yeah, you talk the nutrition angle.
So,
because you know what I'm gonna say. What's the best way to recover after a hard workout? Gummy bears. Immediately after workout.
So yeah, definitely not gummy bears. Definitely not gummy bears. Maybe if get your blood sugar back in check, but don't eat too many gummy bears. But how quickest way to recovery, right? I think is even before your workout, right? Make sure that you're going in with some good nutrition, good balanced nutrition. I would say, for the most part, right? If you want to be fit, you should be eating a lower fat diet. Make sure you're getting adequate protein, good sources of carbohydrates. Leading into the workout, right? Setting yourself up for recovery even before you get in, right, to training. And then post-workout, right? Again, feeding your body, right? So your body's gonna have, if you've just burned up those muscles, right? They're gonna crave food, right? So make sure that, I know this is sort of a broad stroke here, but make sure that you're eating nutritious, healthy meals, right? And the best way that I can put this, right, is anything that grows, right, is like, your fruits and vegetables are good, and any kind of good protein sources, eggs, lean meats, get that nutrition in, stay to the lower fat side of things, because I think, if you don't know already, right, you eat fat, it's stored as fat in your body, right? And so, fat is a good thing, right? It has some good things, but having a lower fat diet, definitely beneficial to help you in your training, right? So use those protein calories and those carbohydrate calories to help you in your recovery.
Mm-hmm.
Anything to add to that?
Why is fat so important? What's the one organ in your body needs fat?
Well, your brain.
Yeah, and that's it, right?
Yep, and fat also has fat-soluble vitamins, right? A, D, E, and K, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, fat isn't something you shouldn't just stop eating. But, you do want to be on the lower side of fat intake.
Yep.
And I think just from a general population standpoint in the United States, that's where we live in the United States, the fat content of a typical diet is usually pretty high, right? And
Sure.
so that's usually one of the first things that if people want to work with me on nutrition, then we start looking at that and trying to, how can we get a little bit better?
Do you have like a breakdown or a percentage, like in your mind, like 50% of calories, protein, 30% carbohydrates, 20% fats, or is it more like 60 protein, 40 carbs, carbohydrates, 10% fat? Like if you look at just a broad stroke, what would that look like?
Yeah, I tend to be like on the higher end of the carb
You do?
spectrum,
Yep.
right? And I know that there's a lot of varying views out there, right?
Which is good, because I mean, body's adaptable.
Yeah, yeah,
Once your body gets used to something, it will adapt to it.
right, yeah.
Good or bad.
Yes, yeah. So I think, from a fat standpoint, you probably, around the 20% mark is where you want to be. And then, from a protein carbohydrate standpoint, like I'm pretty high on the carbohydrate side, like I'm going like 60.
60-40.
Yeah.
Or 60-30. Or
Yeah.
60-20.
20.
Yeah.
Yep. And I mean, it can vary, right? But I think, and it also varies, I think, depending on what you're doing, right?
There are professional athletes that strictly vegetarian.
Yep.
I've seen very successful athletes eat only protein and fat, no
Yeah.
carbohydrates,
Right.
because a lot of calories come from the fat. And then, in my experience, what I prefer is like protein, carbs, and fat. That's just
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
right? I notice that when there are no carbohydrates, I'm a little sluggish.
Yeah.
Like I don't work well.
Well, carbohydrates, right, are your number one source of fuel for your body. Easiest to use, like, immediately, right, and sort of like your gasoline, right? But protein, right, critically important, especially in an instance where you're, lifting weights or running or doing cardio, right, on a consistent basis. And then fat, right, you need fat for a good balanced diet.
Sure.
But just be careful, right, and eat healthy most of the time, right? It's okay to indulge, right? Chad likes ice cream, I like pizza, right? So
Ooh.
I think, don't deprive yourself of things that you like, but know, when you probably hit your limit, right? Or what I like to say is, know what you're putting in your mouth, because there can be consequences to it, right? So
I just got this, I don't want to promote anything specific, but I got this ice cream maker gimmick thing
yeah,
that I mix with Fairlife, chocolate Fairlife cocoa, and then a scoop of like, I don't want to say name, but protein powder.
yeah,
Blend it up and you pour it in the thing, and then I have my ice cream.
yeah,
Right. That's
Yeah.
that's an example of how I get what I want.
sure.
And I
Yeah.
do prefer like fudge ice cream.
There's always.
I'm a sucker for toasted almond fudge.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's always there's always ways to, like if Chad's found a way to get his craving of ice cream, but also to add a little bit of healthy to it, right? Which is great, and there's always ways to do that, guys. So if you like pizza,
Oh yeah.
there's a lot of healthy pizza recipes out there, and the fun thing about the kitchen is it's like a laboratory, and you can be creative and make it as healthy or as unhealthy, I guess, as you want it to be. But yeah, like, don't deprive yourself of the things that you like, right? Because I think, and you know this, right? Like, when people just completely stop eating the things that they like to eat, then they're gonna crave it, right? And instead of eating a chocolate, they're gonna have a box of chocolates.
100%.
Right, so,
Yeah.
it's okay to eat that stuff, just like I said, be aware of what you're putting in your mouth, because it can have consequences.
I liked how you had on your channel, I'm fascinated by this burrito video that you did.
Yeah, the Chipotle burrito runoff.
Like, for when you ate that burrito, like, this giant thing, and then you ran it off just to kind of show, like, the energy expenditure that it took to do that.
Yes.
And to be honest with you, that doesn't always work out
True.
in your favor.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, in theory, that is 100% what it takes to do that.
Yes.
But I think about, because I'm a sucker for popcorn,
Yeah.
and I was explaining to my wife, she's like, your popcorn really doesn't have a whole lot of flavor to it. I'm like, well, yeah, because when I buy the popcorn topping, it says it's 130 calories per tablespoon, and I'm just going,
Yeah. Right.
it's like, it's a 2,000 calorie bowl of popcorn. That's why it doesn't taste so good. I don't always think of those things because I'm watching
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
But it should be fun, like Ben's saying, is the moment something really feels like a chore, and it loses its luster, and then we combine it with what we just talked about, I'm not seeing results, or I'm hitting my plateau, we just added up all the major barriers that will cause someone to literally just stop.
yeah, yeah.
That does happen too.
Yes, indeed. I'm just paging through here some questions, the common questions, right? Common fitness and exercise questions. Should I work out if I'm sore? Well, that's so. Like personal trainer, right? Like my personal trainer response to somebody coming in and saying, Ben, I'm feeling sore today. I'm like, okay, well, tell me a little bit more. Like, where are you feeling sore?
Mm-hmm.
Is it painful? That's my second question usually.
Mm-hmm.
And the response is, yeah, it's painful. I'm like, okay, well, tell me more about that, right? Like, let's go, like, what's painful? They're like, oh, well, my shoulder hurts when I do this. I'm like, okay, it's hurting just when you're moving your arm, and it's pain. On a scale of 1 to 10, how painful is it? If they say 1, I'm like, okay, is that soreness? Now I'm back to the soreness, right? They're like, yeah, I guess it is sore. Or if it's like, it's a 7, right? I'm like, okay, you're getting a 7 on the pain scale when you're moving your arm. Today we're doing legs. Like, I'm not going to put you through something where you might have something going on in your shoulder. And if it doesn't get better over the next week, like, you need to make an appointment and go in. But so, should I work out if I'm sore? And that is a common question.
Sure.
But I think you need to, like, if you're by yourself, right, and you don't have a quick, like, I could just call Chad up and say, listen, my shoulder's killing me. He's going to ask me those questions, and he's going to say, stop. Like, don't do anything with your arms today. If you don't have anything like that, I think you probably need to just sort of wait it out. What do you think?
I agree with that.
Yeah.
When you say you're sore, right, we did some leg presses and some leg extensions and some leg curls. If you're new to lifting weights, you are going to have more muscle soreness than someone who's been training for a long time. Your body gets more, I mean, the soreness scale is going to change.
Yes.
Right? Typically don't train a particular body part day after day.
Right.
So if I do a chest workout one day and then the next day I'm going to do back, sure, when I'm reaching over my head, my chest is going to be sore,
Yes.
potentially, or fatigued, but I'm still doing my back exercises. I personally wouldn't do a chest workout one day and then the next day I'm going to do a shoulder workout.
Right.
That's the type of soreness that I think Ben's talking about.
Yeah.
I have had instances where I do have delayed onset muscle soreness.
Yep.
I always have.
Yep.
So I have to be cautious on how I plan that out.
So
I don't want it to get even worse.
Right, so delayed onset muscle soreness, right, or DOMS, you know, if you're familiar with that, right, it's a natural occurrence in the body that takes place after you lift weights. Typically, it's probably like, usually for me anyway, it's like the second day post-exercise, that's when it gets, what I'll say is the worst, depending on the intensity, but that's when I feel it most. Some people get it almost the day after, but that's what it is. So, and it's muscle soreness, right? There's a difference between muscle soreness and pain, right?
Injury.
And injury, right? And you don't want to go down that path, right? Of, you know, pushing, you know, work through the pain, right? You might hear that, like, no pain, no gain, right? Well,
that's kind of when you're performing the exercise, you're going to feel burn. And if you want results, you're going to have to get comfortable feeling a little burn.
yeah.
I mean, that's just the truth of the matter.
Yeah, that's your muscle working,
Yes.
right? But the definite difference, like if you're actually feeling pain in movement, right, that's a a message that your body's sending to your brain that something's not right, right? So you wanna stop that movement, consult with a medical professional if necessary, right? If it doesn't improve, and you might be in a rehab situation depending on what you got going on, or it might just be your body's sore, just needs a couple extra days to recover, right?
Sure.
All right, so let's take a quick look here.
You can kind of, we've given a lot of information, should we go more?
Yeah, yep.
One or two more?
We'll do one or two more. How about, should we talk about sleep?
Yes.
So, maybe we can talk more around this, but question is, can exercise help with my sleep problems?
The answer is yes. What's the next question?
Yeah, for sure. I think most people I know, including myself, I've had periods in my life where I'm not exercising consistently. And when I get back into that groove of consistent exercise in the weight room, running for me, right, consistently, wow, like sleeping becomes so much better. And it sounds like Chad's the same way.
100%. When we're younger, we don't prioritize sleep because our body naturally just creates all this friggin' energy.
Yeah.
But sleep, I put sleep, for me, I put sleep like number one on my hierarchy of needs.
Yeah, it's so important that, exercise, right, influences better sleep, but it's comes back, right, like better sleep influences better exercise.
You ever notice how confident you feel after a really good workout later in the day or the next day?
Yeah.
Like your mood is better, you're lighter, you're thinking clearly, and your sleep should be improving too.
Yeah.
Sleep is underrated, because
I don't think it gets talked about enough. Yeah.
No, I had a problem sleeping because I used to drink a lot, right?
Yeah.
That really messed up my sleep. So in the last 5 years, once I really started paying attention to that part of my life,
Yeah.
along with my activity and food, 100% better.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Your lifestyle can play a big role in your goals. Right?
Yes.
I'm full of life experience that I'm
Yeah.
happy to share with you all what I know, and I'm also very happy to share with you what you probably shouldn't do, and actually how to get out of it too.
But your sleep, right?
Sleep is so important.
Yeah, and it is this sort of constant, loop. Like if you can stay consistent with your exercise, usually your sleep will also be good and regenerative, right? So it'll keep feeding that cycle of, feeling good and well. But you're gonna have those days of like just not sleeping well, and especially I think what I've experienced now that I've surpassed the 50-year-old mark, right?
Look good.
Thanks. I found that, sleeping, with my exercise, I definitely sleep better. But sleeping is like, it almost goes in a cycle for me through it. And maybe it's just from where we live, but, like my sleeping during the winter months especially, like it gets a little more broken, but into the spring, summer, fall, like my sleep gets way better. But I don't know if that's just from an environmentally changing thing or just age.
My room is pitch black.
Yeah.
Like I don't play around with that. Like,
Darkness helps with sleep.
Pitch black.
Yeah.
Like I don't know why. The slightest bit of light, I'm a light sleeper. I'll wake up.
Yeah.
So, everything should.
It's a sleep tool, right? So Chad uses a sleep tool. I also use sleep tools. So Chad uses like the darkening shades, blinds, whatever. So having that completely dark room can help. And then I use like a white noise fan machine.
Oh, cool.
That helps. On top of, so I usually sleep like a baby, but sleeping, usually it's because there's a break in what I'm my routine during the day.
Yep.
And that could be, I didn't get to my exercise for the day, or maybe I stayed out late,
Yep.
watched a movie,
Yep.
and now I'm trying to get to bed, and my sleep just gets broken,
Mhm.
right? And it sometimes takes a couple of days to get that back in, but
Life is all about routines, man. As much as I hate to say it,
yeah,
there's a routine for how we start our day. There's a routine for how we end our day. There's a routine for how we sleep. There's a routine how we do our activity. There's a routine how we go to work. There's a routine how we get ready for the day. There's a routine to, like, our whole existence is built on
yeah,
structure and routine. And the younger we are, we do it early enough in our life, the more it'll carry it on. Or whenever we learn, it will carry on. It does. Everything that we talk about does get easier.
yeah, and I think, what I'll say is it's also, we'll put an end to our discussion here, but consistency, right, is the name of a lot of games, right? If you can stay consistent, I think we all know that, you'll see results with whatever it is, in your work life, in your exercise life, right? Your fitness life, I'll call it. So consistency is the name of the game, but it's also very important to have fun. If you don't have fun with what you're doing, right, it's all gonna crumble, right? So make sure what you're doing is, if you're embarking on some kind of a fitness or wellness journey, that you're incorporating things that are fun for you, right? You don't have to run to lose weight. You don't have to break into some exercise, right, that you don't particularly like to get to your goals, right? So figure out how to incorporate fun. That could be incorporating some kind of fun activities like you like I think we mentioned, like going out and mowing the grass, or gardening, could be just walking the dog, right? So incorporate those things. And also it could be just as simple as getting a buddy, right? Another thing that's, I think, not talked about enough is support network. So leverage the people around you, right? Let them know what your goals are, ask them if they wanna be active with you. I think that can work wonders.
I used to argue all the time that, like walking your dog is a support person
Yeah,
in coaching, my past coaching life, and then I was told that that's not true. And I argue that. I will argue that to my grave. That
yeah, no, walking a dog
your
is
dog is your support person.
for sure. Walking a dog, right, is like activity on a leash. So if you've got an animal, right, they're a definite big support mechanism, right, and they'll come along with you for your ride, for sure.
And if you happen to be extra introverted, like I am, a lot of the times I like to find different avenues and channels of people that give information. I was talking about this earlier, that one thing that I find that I think can help is hearing the same information from different platforms. Because you're not alone. I've been through it, Ben's been through it, we will more than likely go through it again at some point in time. Knock on wood, if it was around, like if anything were to happen to me, if I got injured, like if I hurt my knee, for example, you're not doing a whole lot when you're trying to recover from a knee issue, and then you're gonna have to start over again,
Right.
somewhere along the way. So being comfortable about it with that is good. I just want to put on a couple of things that I noticed on our call today, for our meeting today, that you talk a lot about creativity.
Oh yeah.
I do lose sight of being creative at times.
Yeah.
Because I feel like everything gets pushed into this.
Yep. Pigeonhole.
Pigeonhole it.
Yeah.
So keeping it creative is my biggest takeaway for today.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is how we measure progress. Because I want to see progress, but I don't always look at it as like a weight or strength or how my clothes fit. And it's more about just giving it time.
Yeah.
So if you just practice something or a bunch of things, if if you give it time, you give it your 3 months, you give it your 6 months, you give it your 9 months, you will be a different person from where you started to wherever you start looking at it.
Yeah.
Like, that's the truth. Like, I mean, there's no right or wrong answer there. Like, you will be better.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think, I'll just say, I appreciate you guys clicking on the channel today. Thanks for your time.
That's fun.
Yeah, remember to, you know, if you're interested, remember to subscribe if you haven't already, and stay strong, stay healthy, and evolve. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks again. Appreciate it.
Thanks
Have
for
a good
having me.
day.